Think your home is your castle? Think again. When you're renting, your landlord holds legal powers that would make medieval kings jealous. These aren't illegal scams or shady practices. These are completely legal things your landlord can do that will make you question everything about renters' rights in America. 1. Enter your apartment with just 24 hours notice for almost any reason that they can claim as necessary maintenance or inspection. In most states, landlords can inspect your home monthly, quarterly, or whenever they decide your air freshener needs checking. They can bring contractors, potential buyers, other tenants, or essentially anyone they want into your private space, as long as they give the minimum legal notice. Some states allow entry with as little as 12 hours notice, and emergency situations can justify immediate entry for problems, as minor as a reported strange smell from a neighbor. This means your landlord can schedule inspections during your work meetings, bring strangers through while you're sleeping, or conduct walkthroughs while your children are doing homework. 2. Raise your rent by any amount with proper notice, even if it doubles or triples your current payment. Most states have no rent control laws, meaning your landlord can increase rent from $800 to $2,400 per month legally, as long as they provide 30 to 60 days notice, depending on your state. They don't need to justify the increase, provide comparable market analysis, or consider your ability to pay. The only limit is whatever the market will bear and their own sense of greed. This means families can face sudden rent increases that force them to choose between financial ruin and homelessness, with no legal recourse to challenge unreasonable price hikes. 3. Refuse to renew your lease for any reason or no reason at all in most states. Your landlord can decide they simply don't like you, don't want to deal with maintenance requests, or want to rent to someone who pays more, and there's nothing you can do about it. They can give you notice to vacate just because they want to paint the walls a different color or because your cooking smells bother them, as long as it's not based on protected class discrimination. This arbitrary power means stable families can lose their homes for completely personal reasons while having no legal protection against landlord preferences or whims. 4. Keep your entire security deposit for cleaning that costs more than professional cleaning services charge. Landlords can hire their brother-in-law's cleaning company that charges $500 to vacuum and $300 to wipe down counters, then deduct these inflated costs from your deposit. They can claim that normal wear and tear requires professional restoration and charge you premium rates for basic maintenance that should be their responsibility. Security deposit theft through cleaning charges is so common that many landlords budget your deposit as additional income rather than protection against actual damages. 5. Show your apartment to prospective tenants while you still live there, potentially bringing strangers through your home daily during the last month of your lease. Your landlord can schedule showings during your dinner time, work from home hours, or whenever is convenient for them and potential renters, regardless of your schedule or privacy needs. They can advertise your address online and bring dozens of strangers through your personal space. This means your final weeks become constant interruptions, while potential tenants examine your belongings and judge your housekeeping, forcing you to keep your home show ready while trying to pack and move. 6. Charge you for repairs that were needed before you moved in, as long as they can claim the damage occurred during your tenancy. That water stain on the ceiling that was there when you moved in? If you didn't document it with photos and written notice, your landlord can charge you for ceiling repair and claim you caused water damage. Pre-existing problems become your financial responsibility if you can't prove they existed before your lease started. This means tenants who don't conduct thorough move-in inspections can face charges for damage they never caused. 7. Require you to pay utilities for common areas or other units if it's written in your lease. Your landlord can structure utility payments so you're paying for hallway lighting, laundry room electricity, or even utility costs for vacant units in the building. They can require you to put utilities in your name for areas you don't control while they pocket the savings on their operating costs. This can add hundreds to your monthly bills while landlords reduce their overhead by shifting building expenses to tenants. 8. Evict you for lease violations that are completely subjective, like being a nuisance to other tenants. If your neighbor complains that your cooking smells are bothersome, your music is too loud at 3 p.m., or your guests park in unmarked spaces, your landlord can begin eviction proceedings for violating community standards. These violations don't require proof, just complaints from other tenants or management's subjective judgment about your behavior. The threat of nuisance eviction creates hostile environments where tenants report each other for minor complaints. 9. Refuse to make repairs that aren't immediately life-threatening, even if they significantly impact your quality of life. Your landlord can legally ignore requests to fix squeaky floors, drafty windows, poor water pressure, inadequate heating that doesn't quite reach habitability standards, or electrical problems that don't pose immediate safety hazards. As long as your unit meets minimum habitability requirements, comfort and convenience repairs are optional. This means you can live with broken air conditioning during heat waves or heating systems that barely maintain legal temperatures. 10. Charge you administrative fees for every interaction, from processing rent payments to responding to maintenance requests. These fees can include charges for accepting online rent payments, processing lease applications, providing copies of lease agreements, coordinating repair appointments, or even fees for calling them with questions about your tenancy. Many landlords charge $25–50 for services that take minutes to complete. These fees can accumulate into hundreds of additional monthly costs for basic interactions that should be covered by rent. 11. Increase rent specifically to force you to move out if they want your unit for other purposes, even if rent control laws exist with loopholes they can exploit. Landlords can claim they're making major improvements that justify rent increases above legal limits, then make minimal cosmetic changes while charging market rates. They can also claim family members need the unit, evict you, then rent to someone else months later. This strategic eviction allows landlords to remove tenants they don't want while appearing to follow legal procedures. 12. Require you to maintain renter's insurance but refuse to coordinate with your insurance company when their negligence causes damage to your belongings. Your landlord can demand proof of insurance but take no responsibility for damage caused by their failure to maintain the property, forcing you to navigate insurance claims for problems that resulted from their neglect of building maintenance. This means you pay premiums to protect against damage caused by landlord negligence, while they avoid responsibility for building upkeep. 13. Change lease terms with each renewal, adding new restrictions, fees, or requirements that weren't part of your original agreement. Your landlord can ban pets you've had for years, prohibit guests after certain hours, require professional cleaning services, or add fees for amenities that were previously included, forcing you to agree to new terms or find a new place to live. These changing terms can transform affordable housing into expensive accommodation through incremental policy changes that make continued residency financially impossible. 14. Refuse reasonable accommodation requests for disabilities if they can claim the modifications would be too expensive or alter the property's character. Landlords can deny requests for ramps, grab bars, or other accessibility modifications by claiming financial hardship, aesthetic concerns, or potential impact on future rentability, leaving disabled tenants with inadequate housing or forcing them to pay for modifications themselves. This forces disabled tenants to choose between accessible housing and affordability. 15. Sell the property while you're living there, forcing you to deal with new ownership that may not honor existing lease terms or rental agreements. New owners can implement different policies, raise rents to market rates upon lease renewal, or simply choose not to renew leases so they can renovate and charge higher rents to new tenants, disrupting your housing stability through no fault of your own. Property sales can transform stable housing situations into displacement crises when new owners prioritize profit over tenant relationships. 16. Prohibit subletting or roommates even when you're struggling financially, preventing you from sharing rent costs during economic hardship. Your landlord can enforce lease clauses that prohibit additional occupants, subletting, or short-term rentals, leaving you responsible for full rent even if your financial situation changes or you need help covering costs due to job loss or medical emergencies. This restriction can trap tenants in unaffordable housing when sharing expenses could provide stability. 17. Require professional carpet cleaning upon move-out, even for carpets that are clean, then charge premium rates if you don't use their preferred service provider. Landlords can mandate specific cleaning companies that charge inflated rates for services, then claim DIY or alternative professional cleaning doesn't meet their standards, forcing you to pay excessive cleaning fees or lose your security deposit. This creates monopoly arrangements where landlords profit from preferred vendor relationships. 18. Prohibit decorating, painting, or personalizing your space in any way, even with easily removable modifications. Your lease can forbid nail holes, adhesive hooks, removable wallpaper, or any changes that make the space feel like home, forcing you to live in sterile, impersonal environments while paying rent for spaces you can't customize to meet your needs or preferences. These restrictions prevent families from hanging children's artwork or displaying cultural items that make spaces livable. 19. Charge late fees that exceed the actual cost of processing late payments, creating profit centers from tenant financial difficulties. Late fees can be $50, $100 for payments that are 1 day overdue, generating significant revenue from tenants experiencing temporary financial problems while providing no additional services or incurring meaningful administrative costs for the delayed payment processing. Some landlords make late fees so punitive that they prefer late payments over on-time payments because fees generate more profit. 20. Restrict overnight guests or limit how often family and friends can visit your home, controlling your social life through lease enforcement. Landlords can limit guest stays to specific numbers of days per month, prohibit overnight visitors without prior approval, or charge fees for guests who stay longer than arbitrary time limits, effectively controlling your personal relationships and social activities. These restrictions can prevent families from hosting relatives during emergencies or individuals from maintaining romantic relationships. 21. Demand immediate payment of rent, even when their failure to maintain the property makes your unit partially uninhabitable. You're required to pay full rent for apartments with broken heating, plumbing problems, or other habitability issues while landlords take their time making repairs, forcing you to pay for housing that doesn't meet basic living standards while you wait for problems to be resolved. This requirement forces tenants to subsidize landlord negligence by paying full rent for substandard housing. 22. Use your security deposit as an interest-free loan, holding your money for months or years while earning interest in their accounts instead of yours. In states without security deposit interest requirements, landlords can invest your deposit money and keep the profits, while you receive no compensation for providing them with interest-free capital for the duration of your tenancy. This allows landlords to profit from tenant deposits while providing no financial benefit to the people whose money generates the investment income. 23. Prohibit home-based businesses or remote work activities that don't disturb neighbors, limiting your income opportunities from your own home. Lease agreements can forbid any business activities, including online work, freelancing, or small businesses that operate entirely within your unit, preventing you from using your home to generate additional income or start entrepreneurial ventures. These restrictions can prevent tenants from improving their financial situations through legitimate work activities. 24. Require you to maintain the property's landscaping, snow removal, or exterior maintenance as part of your rent obligations without reducing your monthly payments. Landlords can shift maintenance responsibilities to tenants through lease agreements, forcing you to shovel snow, rake leaves, mow lawns, or maintain outdoor areas while still paying full rent for properties they own and profit from. This transfers building upkeep costs to tenants while landlords retain ownership and property value benefits. 25. Charge you for normal maintenance and repairs that are legally the landlord's responsibility by claiming tenant negligence caused the problems. Leaky faucets, worn-out appliances, peeling paint, and other normal wear items can become tenant expenses if landlords claim misuse or negligence, forcing you to pay for repairs that should be covered by your monthly rent payments. This cost shifting allows landlords to treat security deposits as maintenance budgets while avoiding responsibility for building upkeep. 26. Refuse to provide receipts or detailed accounting for security deposit deductions, making it impossible for you to dispute excessive charges. Many states don't require itemized deduction lists, allowing landlords to claim vague cleaning and repair costs without providing proof of actual expenses, or allowing you to verify that charges represent actual costs rather than profit-generating deductions. This opacity allows landlords to inflate costs or claim expenses that were never incurred. 27. Enter your unit for inspections that are actually harassment designed to make you uncomfortable enough to move out voluntarily. Frequent unnecessary inspections, bringing intimidating groups of people, taking excessive photos, or conducting lengthy property evaluations can create hostile living environments that encourage tenants to break leases and forfeit deposits rather than continue living under constant scrutiny. These harassment tactics often target tenants with below-market rents, or those who have complained about building conditions. 28. require you to pay for pest control treatments even when infestations result from structural problems or neighboring units under their control. Landlords can shift pest control costs to tenants by claiming lifestyle factors caused pest problems, ignoring building-wide infestations, structural gaps, or sanitation issues in common areas that create pest habitats beyond individual tenant control. This can result in recurring charges for problems that could be prevented through proper building maintenance. 29. Prohibit air conditioning units, space heaters, or other climate control devices, leaving you uncomfortable in units with inadequate temperature control. Lease restrictions can forbid window AC units, portable heaters or fans for aesthetic or electrical reasons, forcing tenants to endure uncomfortable temperatures while paying rent for housing that doesn't provide adequate climate control for health and comfort. This can create dangerous conditions for elderly tenants or those with medical conditions. 30. Change building policies and amenities after you've signed your lease, removing services or access you expected when agreeing to rent terms. Landlords can close gyms, pools, common areas, or parking facilities during your lease term, eliminate services like package acceptance or maintenance request processing, or restrict access to amenities that influenced your decision to rent at their property. These changes can significantly alter the value proposition tenants agree to when signing leases. 31. Require professional references from previous landlords, but refuse to provide honest references for tenants, trapping people in rental situations through reference manipulation. Landlords can give negative references based on personal conflicts rather than lease compliance, making it difficult for tenants to find new housing even when they've paid rent on time and followed lease terms throughout their tenancy. This creates cycles where tenants can't move due to poor references from vindictive landlords. 32. Charge fees for lease breaking even when you're moving for legitimate reasons like job relocations, family emergencies, or military deployment. Early termination fees can equal multiple months' rent regardless of circumstances requiring tenant relocation, creating financial penalties for life changes beyond tenant control, while landlords keep deposits and can immediately re-rent units to new tenants. This creates double income situations where landlords collect termination fees plus new tenant deposits. 33. Refuse to accept rent payments in order to justify eviction proceedings, then charge late fees and legal costs for the forced non-payment situation. Some landlords reject rent payments to create grounds for eviction when they want tenants removed, then claim non-payment justifies legal action, while tenants who attempted to pay rent face eviction and additional fees for situations created by landlord refusal to accept payment. This allows landlords to manufacture legal grounds for removing unwanted tenants. 34. Install surveillance cameras in common areas, but refuse to provide footage when tenants experience theft, harassment, or safety issues. Landlords can monitor building areas for their own liability protection, but decline to assist tenants who need surveillance evidence for police reports, insurance claims, or personal safety documentation, using security systems solely for their benefit rather than tenant protection. This creates one-way surveillance that protects landlords while providing no security benefits for tenants. 35. Require specific insurance coverage amounts that exceed reasonable protection needs, forcing tenants to purchase expensive policies that primarily protect landlord interests. Renters' insurance requirements can mandate liability coverage amounts that far exceed typical needs, forcing tenants to pay higher premiums for insurance that mainly protects landlords from potential lawsuits, rather than providing appropriate coverage for tenant belongings and risks. These requirements can add hundreds to annual housing costs for coverage that primarily benefits property owners. 36. Prohibit pets entirely, even when they would be beneficial for tenant mental health, mobility assistance, or companionship needs. No pet policies can prevent tenants from having support animals that would improve their quality of life, forcing people to choose between housing and pets that provide emotional support, companionship, or practical assistance with daily activities. These policies ignore the documented benefits of animal companionship while treating all pets as property damage risks. 37. Require tenants to pay for professional move-in and move-out inspections that primarily protect landlord legal interests rather than tenant rights. Mandatory inspection fees can cost hundreds of dollars for assessments that document property condition, mainly to support potential security deposit deductions, rather than providing tenants with protection against unfair damage claims or helpful information about unit condition. These fees generate revenue while creating documentation that landlords can use to justify deposit deductions. 38. Restrict parking options and charge premium rates for basic parking access, turning necessary vehicle storage into profit centers. Parking fees can add hundreds to monthly housing costs for spaces that cost landlords virtually nothing to provide, while tenant vehicles may be towed from unmarked spaces or street parking, creating expensive complications for basic transportation needs. Some landlords charge separate fees for covered parking, assigned spaces, or guest parking that should be included in rent. 39. Prohibit modifications for accessibility or safety, even when they would be easily removable and beneficial for tenant welfare. Bans on grab bars, ramps, additional lighting, or safety equipment can force disabled or elderly tenants to live in potentially dangerous conditions, while landlords prioritize aesthetic concerns over tenant safety and accessibility needs. These restrictions can prevent necessary modifications that would improve tenant safety and independence. 40. Charge application fees for every adult occupant, even when applications are processed electronically at minimal cost to landlords. Multiple application fees for couples, families, or roommates can total hundreds of dollars for housing applications that cost landlords virtually nothing to process, creating significant barriers to housing access while generating pure profit from prospective tenants. Families with multiple adults can face fees totaling $300, $500 before even being approved for housing. 41. Require immediate occupancy after lease signing, preventing tenants from maintaining overlap periods between old and new housing. Landlords can demand tenants move in immediately upon lease execution, eliminating transition time that would allow for gradual moving, cleaning previous residences, or maintaining housing continuity during relocations that require time for proper coordination. This forces tenants to pay double rent during transitions or hire expensive moving services for compressed timelines. 42. Refuse to provide keys or access codes until after full payment of first month, last month, security deposit, and various fees, potentially totaling thousands of dollars required upfront. Move-in costs can require immediate payment of multiple months' rent plus deposits and fees before tenants can access their new homes, creating substantial financial barriers and forcing people to carry overlapping housing costs during transitions. These upfront requirements can total $3,000, $6,000 for modest apartments, while landlords face no reciprocal commitments. 43. Require renters to maintain specific credit scores throughout their tenancy and begin eviction proceedings if credit ratings decline due to medical bills, job loss, or other financial hardships. Ongoing credit monitoring requirements can trigger lease violations when tenants experience financial difficulties beyond their control, forcing housing instability during periods when stable housing would be most beneficial for financial recovery. Tenants can face eviction for credit changes that don't affect their ability to pay rent. 44. Demand that tenants obtain written permission for any overnight guests, including family members, romantic partners, or friends recovering from medical procedures. Guest approval requirements can force tenants to request permission for normal social activities, ask landlords for approval to help sick relatives, or seek authorization for romantic relationships, giving landlords control over tenants' personal lives and social support systems. These requirements treat adult tenants like supervised minors who need approval for basic human relationships. 45. And finally, landlords can legally keep detailed files on tenant behavior, complaints, rent payment patterns, and personal information, then share this information with other landlords, property management companies, or tenant screening services without disclosure. These tenant databases can include subjective opinions about personality conflicts, disputes over maintenance issues, or any interactions landlords choose to characterize negatively, creating permanent records that follow tenants between rentals and influence future housing opportunities. Landlords can report tenants for asking too many maintenance questions, complaining about living conditions, requesting lease clarifications, or any behavior they personally find annoying, regardless of whether tenants violated lease terms or paid rent consistently. This information sharing system allows landlords to essentially blacklist tenants from future rental opportunities based on personality conflicts, maintenance requests, or subjective judgments about tenant behavior that had nothing to do with lease compliance or rent payment history. The tenant screening industry profits from these reports, while tenants have limited ability to dispute inaccurate information or defend themselves against characterizations that can destroy their housing prospects. So there you have it. Proof that renting in America means signing away more rights than you probably realized. Your landlord isn't just your housing provider. They're legally empowered to control significant aspects of your daily life, financial stability, and personal relationships. The rental agreement you signed isn't just a housing contract. It's permission for someone else to make decisions about your home, your money, and your lifestyle. Subscribe if you want to learn more about the legal loopholes that make renting feel like paying someone to boss you around.